Pam, I'll call the Selectmen's meeting to order this evening. We do have a short agenda because we will be meeting tomorrow prior to the town meeting. We do have a couple of items this evening. First item on the agenda is our annual evaluation of the town manager, Ms. Wizeneski. And what I've done generally as chair is I will open it up to my colleagues to go through their evaluations, say as much or as little as they would like to. The evaluations are on file in the clerk's office in writing. We have a form and a procedure that we follow. So having said that, I would ask, and I will give the manager an opportunity to make any concluding remarks or any statements that he would make after his evaluation is completed by the members of the board. Having said that, Selectman LaMarche.
Thank you, Chairman Casey. Okay, well, I'll start with budget and finance. I gave the manager a 5 out of 10. I believe the manager needs to be more aware of the effects on employees' lives when he's preparing the budget. Number 2, I gave a 6 under public safety. I feel that we are very fortunate to have a very good public safety division. I do believe, though, that he needs to work on the attitude of the building inspector. I've had an awful lot of comments about that individual, so that's why I gave a 6. Number 3, personal and human resources. I gave the manager a 5. He needs to realize that his decisions impact people's lives. I hate to be redundant, but I really think that a lot of the decisions are affecting the way some people are actually able to live in our town and perform in our town. Public services, I gave a 6. For the large majority, the people that provide these services are very professional and polite. And I believe there are a couple of departments that could use a little bit of fine tuning in the town hall, specifically upstairs. Number 5, Public Works. I gave the manager an 8. I feel that we have a great Public Works, and he's handling that area very well. In technology, I gave the manager a 9. We seem to be doing very well in that area as far as I'm concerned. So that's a total of 39 in that category. In the oral communication, well, basically written communication, administrative functions, planning, organization, controlling, directing and leading, and problem solving, I gave them all 3s, which are satisfactory, for a total of 24. Under my general comments, I have talked to the manager about this, so this is no surprise, that I really don't feel like I'm an important selectman. I find out more about town issues from town residents, and I seem to be informed by the manager. I get sometimes the information from the manager, I think, to just keep me happy, and then other things change as time goes on. There have been circumstances this year where I've had a hard time reaching the manager, and again, I've talked to him about this, and then I found out things from town residents and problems and weren't able to get them straightened away. And basically, I just think, again, his employee relationship, he really needs to work a little bit on that.
Well, all the dogs voted for you anyway.
Time being 7:05 p.m., I'll call the
Couple cats.
Selectmen's meeting to order this evening. The first, before we get to the public hearing on the sewer rate, the first item on the agenda, as we do annually after an election, is to reorganize the Board of Selectmen. So generally what happens at this point is I entertain any motions that any of my colleagues want to make with respect to reorganization of the board. But this year, what I think I'm going to do, because I've done that for 7 or 8 years straight, entertain their motions, I think I'm going to go out on a limb here and make a motion of my own with respect to reorganization. And I am going to so move the name of John Sad as chairman, the name of Dennis LaMarche as vice chairman, and the name of Michael Vose as secretary.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, we are reorganized. And I will officially take the Bigwood seat.
Mr. Bigwood seat.
I don't know if it was Jan or.
It's Jan, in memory of Mr. Bigwood, it was Jan.
Jan.
A heart melt.
I know. Nice to see you. You too,
There you go, Dennis, congratulations.
Gonna get you a day. This is different. John. Different for you, but not for me. I've been here before.
I'm just that much closer to the door.
Madam Chair, please.
This one's yours.
I'm gonna have a
This one's
hard time
mine.
getting used to
I
saying
am too.
Madam Chair.
I'm gonna have a hard time not acting like it, so just bear with me.
Well, certainly not, I've been here before, so it's not strange for me. I just want to say thank you to the colleagues for voting for me for chairman. I look forward to serving with each and every one of you. I think we have an excellent working board. It's been a pleasure working with all of you, and I look forward to future endeavors as far as the Board of Selectmen in the town of Oxford goes. I'd also like to extend my gratitude and appreciation on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to our chair. She has been chair for several years and has done an outstanding job as our chair. And I'm sure that she's going to like the rest, because I know what it's like. So with that, first item on the agenda, public hearing, sewer rate. John Duvall?
Just get a question. 60. 680.
John, what do you have for us?
Okay, Mr. Chairman. It's been a little over 2 years since I sat before this board, and when the board last voted to increase the sewer rate. Since that time, costs to operate and maintain the sewer
Excuse me.
system.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, would you like to read the public hearing notice into the record?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Just doing my,
This is a public hearing, really? Yes.
Okay, public hearing notice. John has attached a packet with information regarding the public hearing, and I'll read the notice. Please take notice that the Oxford Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 16th, 2012, at 7 p.m. in the Selectmen's Meeting Room on the second floor of the Town Hall, which is located at 325 Main Street. The purpose of this meeting is to accept written and oral comments regarding an increase of the sewer rate. And I'd just like to state that the public hearing is what it is. If there is anyone who has any questions, concerns, after Mr. Duvall makes his presentation, feel free to ask whatever questions you have through the chair. Mr. Duvall.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I said, it's been a little over 2 years since the Board of Selectmen last raised the sewer rate. And since that time, costs to operate and maintain the sewer system have gone up. In my memo dated May 11th, I indicated that some of those costs have gone up significantly. The town of Auburn is the town that the town of Auburn sewer system is the system that the town of Oxford discharges its wastewater to. We have an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Auburn to accept and transport our waste, and town of Auburn has increased the fee that the town of Oxford has to pay to it by 12%. Similarly, the Upper Blackstone wastewater treatment plant in Millbury that treats the waste after it's gone through the Auburn system has increased its fee to the town of Oxford by 6%. We recently rehabilitated the Thayer Pond Village Pumping Station. That station was built in 1985-86 timeframe. The town took it over around the year 2000, I think it was, to extend sewer lines in Route 20. And it was very much showing its age and needed quite a bit of work. And that work is now complete. and the cost to finance the debt will be hitting the sewer enterprise fund shortly. So with those costs, there's no way to go than to go up with the sewer rate, unfortunately, because the sewer operations and maintenance is funded solely through a sewer enterprise account, which means it's the customer's money only that goes into offsetting the costs that are incurred to operate and maintain the system. There's no tax dollars that go into it. So when the costs to operate and maintain go up, then accordingly the rates that we charge the customers have to go up to meet the cost. Otherwise, the sewer enterprise is insolvent. So in the May 11th memo that I gave to the board, I included two rate designs to get to where we need to get in terms of funding it, fully funding its maintenance and operation. Design 1 that you'll see on page 2 of the May 11th memo assumes a uniform usage rate for all customers. And if we go with that design to generate the kind of revenue we need to make ends meet, the cost per 1,000 gallons would go from $8.70 per thousand currently to $11.14 per thousand. And that would be about $143 annual cost increase to a single-family home. Design 2 is a different design in that it takes the types of customers we have on the system and splits it up by customer class. So you'll see that we have residential customers, schools and camps as a different type of customer, and then commercial industrial as a third type of customer. And if you do a split, then the residential rate would go from $8.70 to $9.50. The school camp rate would go to $10 per thousand, and the commercial industrial would go to $14.80 per thousand. And so that puts more of the burden on schools and camps and commercial industrial customers. And that would result in a $47 annual increase to a typical single-family home customer, as opposed to the Design 1, which would have been a $143 increase. Now, in talking with the town manager, he wanted me to come up with other rate designs. And so I submitted kind of late in the game today a memo with different rate designs.
Could I interrupt,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman? What Mr. Dival hasn't mentioned, and I will bring up at my, in my manager's report, is that we have an agreement with Webster to connect the sewer system that we want to build in southwest Oxford. That's the old Worcester Road, IPG, Fabrico, and Wilson language. So what he's presenting to you includes the cost of that arrangement as well in the Webster connection. But I don't think everybody knows yet that we have that deal completed. So hopefully you'll all agree to sign that at the end of the evening. Thank you.
Could you explain that more clearly?
Sure. And thank you for that prompt, Mr. Manager. The southwest sewer system that will be built along Old Webster Road will go across the town line into Dudley. I think it's called Oxford Avenue in Dudley. We'll travel down Dudley, through Dudley on Oxford Avenue. We'll cross the bridge by Cemetery Road, go into Webster, go up the short hill and discharge into a manhole where Bigelow Road comes into North Main Street in Webster. The intermunicipal agreement that will be before you tonight for signature with the town of Webster stipulates the cost that the town of Oxford will pay to the town of Webster to transport and treat waste that's collected on the Old Webster Road system. And that cost is significantly higher than the cost for the North Oxford system in going through Auburn to be treated at the Upper Blackstone. So when you're looking at one sewer enterprise account and two systems with different costs to treat, handle the wastes, it kind of makes the numbers, the rates that we would charge our customers to get a little crazy. And so that's why, in this May 11th memo, looking at that cost differential between going to Auburn and going to Webster, knowing that the Southwest Oxford customers, on the face of it right now, are going to be all commercial industrial properties. Because they're commercial industrial, they're the only customers on that system, and it costs a lot more to go there. When I structured the split rate by customer classes, to put more of the burden on the commercial industrial customers, but it's really just to recover the rates for that commercial industrial cost to go to Webster.
So the third alternative,
The third alternative, in talking to Attorney Rich from Town Council, Copeland and Page, is that there is an option to have a rate set for each service area, if they are truly distinct and if they truly have a different cost. In my opinion, we have that situation here, because we have two separate intermunicipal agreements, one for Auburn for the North Oxford system, and one for Webster for the Old Webster Road Southwest system. Two different intermunicipal agreements, two completely different costs to transport. And then in the case of treatment, it's going to Webster for treatment for the Southwest system and going to Upper Blackstone for the North Oxford system. Two different treatment plants, two different costs. So I think we have sufficient backup to be able to implement a different rate structure per service area. So the memo that I submitted today takes what I developed in the May 11th memo and builds in that different cost by service area. So design one was the uniform rate for all customers regardless of customer class. But when you break it down by service area, the North Oxford system customers would incur a cost of $10.40 per thousand, and the Old Webster Road system customers would incur a cost of $16.70 per thousand, uniform rate. Design 2A, split rate by customer class, North Oxford system would be $9.50 per thousand residential, $10 per thousand for school and camps, and $13.50 for commercial industrial. That's for the North Oxford system. And the Old Webster Road system would be $9.50 per thousand residential, even though we wouldn't have any residential customers right away. We need to have that cost structure there in case we do get a residence tying in. $10 per thousand for school and camps, same scenario, and $16.70 per thousand commercial industrial. In my May 11th memo, I recommended that we go to a split rate. And I'm uneasy saying that and making that recommendation because I don't want Oxford to get the reputation that we're business unfriendly and that we're trying to push this burden onto commercial industrial customers. It pains me to make that recommendation. But at the same time, we've got the homes that are connected, the condos at Theropon Village that are connected, and if we didn't do that split rate, they would see a very large increase. If we put more of the burden on commercial industrial, then it eases their increase. I've got a different recommendation to make after making that one because I'm quite uneasy about it. And that is, I think we should go with the dividing the rate by service area. So that would be the memo that I submitted today. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it's easily defensible. Our attorney was, very outright in saying that we've got to be careful that you've got distinct and different costs if you're going to split it by service area, and we do. We have that, and I think it's easily defensible if it is challenged. So my recommendation tonight would be to go to a uniform rate and split it by service area. So that would be $10.40 per thousand for the North Oxford system for all customers, and $6.70 per thousand in the Old Webster Road system.
I'm sorry, $6 and how much?
$6.70.
16.
I'm sorry, $16.70, the Old Webster Road system. And I should add to that, if we should get a residence that wants to tie in on the old Webster Road system, we should bring them in at a lower rate. Well, no, I take that back, because the cost is the cost, no matter who the customer is. So 1670 Old Webster Road, 1040 North Oxford system.
Yes.
No, not me.
Mr. Lamont?
Sean, since I got your original memo, I thought the same thing when I saw these split rates. And as I was talking with the town manager on Monday, I asked him why. You know, it's not like the water company that wants you to use less to conserve. I mean, whether you use a gallon or 1,000 gallons, you're paying your usage fee. I like the recommendation that you made with the single rate. It represents about 20% on the increase, which if you look at, you said 10% from Auburn, 6% from Blackstone, that leaves you 4% for what you fixed the Thayer Pond pump with. And what folks have to realize is we already own this system. It's not like the water company where we're trying to buy it. Any monies that you have, if the account were to get flush, we could add to the system and continually expand it, because it's our system. We can expand it as we can afford to do so. I know that we've done it through Beverly Street with betterment fees. And, you know, we can expand the system that way, but you could also pull it if you had to from either the north or the south to get it if we had a problem at the Chafee School. You know, we'd have the availability. It would be costly, but we could do so. I like what you said on your closing. The 1040 for the north end, the 1670 for the south end, one split. And should you all of a sudden start to develop a bunch of residents in the south end, you could look at what the costs are and then come back to us and say, hey, there's no need for Joe homeowner to be paying the 1670 when they're using such a minute amount and, you know, the industries are using. We could look at it again and maybe bring it down for everybody, because as the usage goes up, the cost per unit can go down.
Right.
So I like what you said at the end, and, you know, I hope that becomes the motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Vos?
Yeah, Sean, I'm glad you came up with the design 1A and 2A, because I thought the other two designs were unfair to different groups of people in town. I like the fact that this design, you know, the cost, you're only paying for yourself. The north isn't subsidizing the south isn't subsidizing the north. It's, you know, it's on cost basis. I do have one question for you, though, on the usage. You have assumptions common to both rate designs, and you have 48,000 and 12,000. I must be missing something here, because the math doesn't add up when you add the 11,620, the 2,200, and the 3,700. What's that? That's about 19,000. What am I missing?
It should add to 17,520.
What page you on? On the first memo?
I'm on, well, it's basically on all the memos.
Okay.
Has it up here and has it down here. At the top of the page, it says that you
What adds
get
up?
you get the 48,000 and the 12,000.
So
You've got in the North Oxford system, 17,520,000 per year. That's not per day.
Right.
The per day flow is 48,000 and 12,000. This is thousands of thousands,
A million,
Oh,
a
okay.
million.
millions, yes.
And then down below, you have the 11,620,000, 2,200,000, and then 3,700,000.
Okay.
That adds up to the 17,520.
Makes much more sense.
So
to
he's
me now.
looking at the annual, and up above, the assumptions common are 48,000 gallons per day in North Oxford and 12,000 gallons per day in Old Webster Road. That's estimated. And the nice thing about the split rate, if I may comment, is that if, well, it would happen either way, no, this is important. If there's a delay in IPG or Fabrico's connection, we're not hurt because we're not incurring any costs. It's totally separate.
Go ahead.
Ms. Casey?
Thank you. Mr. Dival, the increase in that you originally referenced for a single-family home is not going to be $143 anymore. I mean, that's how you opened it up, saying that
Right.
that's what the annual increase would be. So that number is just blown out of the water by your last suggestion, correct?
Right.
So what type of increase are we talking?
The annual increase for Design 1A, which is going from $8.70 per thousand to $10.40 per thousand would result in a $99 increase per year for a single-family home, average single-family home.
So it would go from 143 to 99.
Right.
Okay. And with respect to the 1670, I just want to be clear on these. So the 1040 would apply in the North Oxford system to residential, commercial, everything. That would be the set rate. Is that what you're proposing?
That's correct.
In the 1670 would be the set rate for residential and commercial in the old Webster Road system.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, what I didn't see in your proposal is a definition of what the old Webster Road system is, and I think whatever rate we adopt, we should clearly define what that term means. Because we know what it means today. It means that IPG, Wilson Learning, Fabrico, those types of businesses are going to absorb most of that rate increase. But what is it going to mean when you're back in front of us, or back in front of this board in 2 or 3 years? I think it's important for us to define what the old Webster Road system means as of today when we decide what the rate should be.
What it really means is any customer that's connected to the Oxford system that ultimately gets discharged to Webster.
So you're saying residential, so any existing or future residential, commercial, business, whatever, that ties in and is discharged in Webster is going to be considered in the old Webster Road system?
That's correct.
And if that is in fact what is being proposed, I would like to see that in the rate that we set. It's very important to define what these terms are, because somebody's going to pick up this document and say, well, I didn't know that was my rate. Or, what does the old Webster Road system mean? We know what it means, but it's important for people in the spirit of transparency, disclosure. They know what they're paying for and where it's going, because if they understand that we're paying the town of Webster, and that's why we have a higher rate for the old Webster Road system, I think that that would be useful information for taxpayers.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments, concerns from board members? Public, you have any comments?
Well, actually, Mr. Chairman, I did have one more question. On the 1670 then, so it would be an increase, the average residential home is going to be going, because we have the same rate now in the north and the south, it's $8.70, correct?
Well, we don't have a southern system
Okay.
right now. That's being built this summer.
Okay, so this is new, this is all, we're pioneers tonight, we're setting a rate for the southern part of town.
That's correct.
Okay. And we're setting a higher rate for the southern part of town because the sewerage is going to be, for people who are not familiar with this whole mass grant and project that we've been working on, is going to be, we have to pay the town of Webster to take the sewer, and that's why there's a different rate.
That's correct.
And I guess to the manager, education is always the hardest thing when it comes to the public and increased fees, and is there anything that we can do, I just put this out there, as far as an explanation perhaps on the access channel so people understand? I know there aren't a lot of residences tying in right now, I get it, it's businesses, but I think it's important for people to understand why there is going to be a different rate, because they're going to pick up the TNG tomorrow and say, hey, well, if I want to tie in, I got to pay $16.70 per thousand, and they only have to pay $10.40 in North Oxford. What is this, the north and the south? And I think it's important for us to try to educate the public as much as we can on that. That would just be my...
Well, a quick note for the reporters is that Webster discharges into the French River. It's an underutilized treatment plant that has an extremely high level of required, it's a low discharge standard, very stringent standard. Upper Blackstone, on the other hand, is a much larger volume of sewage, so there's an inherent efficiency, greater efficiency in Upper Blackstone, so the cost, and they discharge into a different river basin. So the Blackstone River has a much bigger flow compared to the French River. So you have those differences, the differences in the efficiency of the treatment plants because of the volume of flow, which justifies the difference in the cost of treatment per gallon. The marginal cost of treating an additional gallon is much less than the cost of treating the first gallon. But that comment was made here as well about having a different rate. Right? That makes sense?
What is the cost
It's it's a little bit less than 1670. The 1670 includes our pumping costs and
Right,
maintenance costs.
the cost that the town will incur per 1,000 gallons in Webster is about 1070. The difference between 1070 and 1670 is our cost to pump it and treat it for odor control and telemetry and flow monitoring and all that.
You have a question?
Yes, if
Mr.
I
Lamarche?
may. While the system's being built, Sean, right now, we don't have any residents that we know about that are gonna tie in, but there are some residents along that line. If they decided they wanted to tie in while this is being built, they'll have that opportunity.
Yes, they will.
And they'll pay the 1670 price.
That's correct.
And to clarify a little bit, Joe, just to make sure, because I'm a little confused, did I understand that right? Is it because there's more flow going to the Blackstone plant, so the cost goes down by the more that they treat, versus there's less flow going into Webster, so it costs more to treat because there isn't as much?
And it's in the aggregate, it's not just our flow.
Right.
It's not just the simple fact that we're pumping 4 times as much each day to Upper Blackstone. Upper Blackstone is in millions of gallons per day,
Okay.
tens of millions, I think 35?
Somewhere around there.
It's huge.
Includes the city
So
of Worcester.
our flow is minuscule compared to
Right.
what they treat. Our flow in Webster, I mean, let's face it, they've been looking for more sewage since they lost Cranston Printworks.
So if Webster could get more flow, then the price would actually go
Correct.
down.
That's right.
It's a funny
There's
thing to think about.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's almost a stepwise kind of increase, because you
Well,
reach a threshold where now you have to bump up the cost a little bit per gallon, but
Well, because when I first looked at the 48,000 versus 12,000, I'm saying, well, how can it cost more? But now that you've explained that, that's understandable.
But you have to understand that the Blackstone system has much more acceptability of sewerage than this system, obviously. It's got the whole city of Worcester and most of the surrounding towns well into the Blackstone region. So, there's a lot of
Right.
sewage going into that system. And this is one of the reasons why, over the years, we have been approached by the town of Webster to have us tie into their system, because their system has been underutilized since it's been established. So the more flow, the more customers they get, the better off it is for everybody concerned. And that, in turn, would reduce the rate. Now, a question for you, Sean, that I have is, you call this, on your second memo, the old Webster Road system, as opposed to the South Oxford system. Is there a reason for that?
The reason being is immediately the pipes that we build will be in Old Webster Road and no other roadway. So,
The reason why I ask that is I'm kind of looking ahead into the future. Originally, when Webster wanted us to tie in to their system, they were looking at us tying in from the Cudworth Road area into our industrial park, from there into Route 12. And when they were building 395, we made sure that there were sleeves put in under 395 so that we could get septic if we ever got, a connection to Webster. So it's there. And that's all the talks we've had in the past, and I'm sure the manager can attest to this, has been that that's where we were going to tie into Webster, at that end of town. Now, supposing we do tie into that, and we tie into our industrial park, is that going to be a third system? Or is that going to be part of this system, the old Webster Road system?
I would
It's
collect,
all going into one.
right, I would collectively call any sewers that we built in that we would build in South Main Street, and any sewers that we'd build in the Old Webster Road area, just be called the South Oxford Sewer System. Each connection point goes through the Webster pipes and gets treated at the Webster treatment plant.
But if they come in through the Cudworth Road area, if we expand from that end, is the cost going to be different than what we have agreed to with our agreement right now with the town of Webster?
Well, I'm sure it would reopen the intermunicipal agreement that we,
It would be one agreement, though.
right,
We would
We
do a
would
new
have to
agreement.
modify
and
it.
have- Yes.
right.
Okay, because I wouldn't want to see a third set of rates for the same system,
Right.
or a second set of rates.
And that would be hard to justify because it's all going to the same place. We have, one of the classic examples is the notion of he who is furthest away from the treatment plant paying more. You had the same kind of argument on a road. Why should I pay as much to maintain my road, because I live at the entrance of the road, as the guy who lives at the end of the cul-de-sac? It costs more to pump sewage from the high school up to Auburn than it does to get Walmart's sewage or the 1220 gas station into Auburn. But because they're all one system, they pay the same rate. Now, the logic here is that these is totally different systems. And so to Chairman Sad's question, whether we go down Old Webster Road or Main Street, where else could we connect? Cudworth Road, that because it's all going to Webster, it would be one rate at that time.
My final question to you, Sean, is on the Old Webster Road system, it's basically going to go as far as Wilson Learning IPG.
A little bit further,
A little bit
about
further?
to the churches there.
Okay, to the churches. So if there were to be future expansion, say homes along Old Webster Road wanted to tie in, say the furthest one away wanted to tie in, say someone beyond the dog pound wanted to tie in, who pays to install the line? Is there betterments that are going to be assessed?
That would be the likely avenue that we would take. It would be similar to what we did on Beverly Street. We had a stub at Old Worcester Road. Beverly Street neighbors got together, they decided they wanted the sewer, we went to town meeting, got authorization and appropriation to build the sewer line to be paid back through betterments. So something similar to that would happen on Old Webster Road, likely. And we'd assess betterments to pay back the town to build that sewer line.
So that's the way the expansion would take place. I mean, there would have to be, people along that area would have to request septic. And what if there are people in between that don't want it? Are they still going to get assessed a betterment? I would think so.
Right, they would.
Just so people understand, because I've had so many questions about, oh, good, it's coming into Oxford. You know, people that, on Old Webster Road, way down the other end, are saying, gee, that's great. What do we have to do to tie in? What will it cost us? So these types of questions are gonna be coming along once people know that this is out there.
Right.
When is it coming to me? That's the bottom line.
Right.
And what's it gonna cost? Yes, question?
Are we still tied into the Rochdale sewer system?
Yes, we are.
Now that goes to the Blackstone or
No.
that?
Now, that gets treated at the Oxford Rochdale treatment plant off of Cummins Road.
So people there pay a different rate?
Different system, Tyler.
But it's not the town. I live up near the golf course, and I'm connected to the Oxford Rochdale sewer system. I get a bill from Oxford Rochdale, not from the town. The town only has will have two connection points now, Webster and Auburn Upper Blackstone.
Let's just hope we don't get 5 or 6 other different sewage arrangements here in this town. It'll become totally confusing to everybody. If there are no further questions or concerns, I would entertain a motion of sort from any member of the board. Mr. Lamont?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we go with the north end or the Auburn intermunicipal area with a rate of 1040 single rate, and with the Webster Road South End Webster intermunicipal agreement of 1670 as recommended by the DPW director.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, it's been moved in second. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, I'll make it unanimous. Thank you, Sean. We have Sean?
No. But at the intermunicipal agreement, yes, let's do that. I have it on my, if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Somewhere. Oh, item 2, on my manager's report, we've successfully negotiated the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Webster for the transportation and treatment of wastewater. It's request the board vote to sign that agreement. It's in the to-be-signed folder. Pleasure of the board.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Chairman, then Chairman Casey, for taking the time to go with me and to those meetings. It's been fun.
It's always fun when you're sitting on that side of the table at a selectmen's meeting. I recommend it to
It's
everybody.
different.
It's good.
Also, Mr. Dival and I had talked after my evaluation. There was a question or comment about a road maintenance program. He is working on, or has one. We have one in
We
place.
have one in place.
We have one in place. A lot of it depends on our Chapter 90 money. Right now, the House has agreed to not segregate, segregate. Take off the bond transportation authorization, the Chapter 90 part, which is $200 million. It then went to the Senate, and the Senate decided to lump it back together. So now they're going through the required process of wasting time, quite frankly. And I wrote to Senator Moore, asked him to, can you help? I don't know if it would be appropriate for the board to send a letter to our reps as well.
It'd be great.
That would be great, because we're in line for 505,000, I think, 505,000. It'd be quite a help, so I'd give that to the board as pleasure of the board. To write a letter to our legislators and ask them to act on this.
I'd make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion that's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 And I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries.
And finally, we had an issue last week about direction signs to Grace Church. They wanted to put up 2 signs, one on Charlton Street and one on Sutton Avenue, I think. And I had asked Mr. Dival to look into that. Care to speak to that?
Yes, Mr. Manager. This request for the sign comes at a very interesting time. We are under federal mandate to inventory all of our signs and to replace any old and outdated signs with what's called the new retro reflectivity standards. And so we have actually gone out and started surveying all of our signs to build the inventory. And there are a lot of signs in the town of Oxford. We are about 41% complete. There's 117 miles of public and private ways in the town. We've surveyed 48 of those miles, and we're up to 1,045 signs. And we haven't even gone to the neighborhoods, the Sherwood Forest neighborhood and the old Fairground area neighborhood, where there are a lot of signs. And so we're going to come out well over 2,000 signs on our inventory. So as a matter of policy, I think this board is going in the right direction and really thinking and considering all of these sign requests because we have so many. And the more signs that are out there create more sign pollution and then also create an issue of maintenance. When we have so many signs out there, to go and replace them all is a lot of money. So right now, my recommendation to the board on the Grace Episcopal signs is to allow them to go in for now because we have other church signs that are already in place, but hold off on any more sign requests until I can get this inventory complete and come up with a policy that I'd like to bring before the board to have the board discuss and vote on so that we have sort of a checklist or some kind of procedure in place of what signs we'll allow, where we will allow them, maintenance agreements, and that sort of thing, so we can get a good handle on this.
Mr. Vos?
Sean, as part of your evaluation, can you check to see what signs maybe we don't need anymore? Is there a possibility we could remove some of these signs? Because, like you said, it seems like we are the sign capital of central Massachusetts. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Right. I would love to get rid of those old signs, and we're inventorying them now. Honestly, we have taken out a few, some that are so faded you can't even read anymore, they come out. But right now, we're sort of in more of the data gathering mode. And once we have a good handle on what we have, as part of the sign policy, I think a clause in that policy will be that, that the DPW director has the authority to take out these signs when conditions are present enough, fading or a children playing sign and there's no children, things of that nature.
Casey?
Thank you. Just, this issue came up because of the request for the sign for the church, and I think the board had had a pretty long meeting at that point. We were all pretty tired. It was a late meeting. I think we were here for in excess of 2 hours, and town manager was going through his report, and we had a request for a sign, and, this has been something that's bothered me for a long time because of the number of signs. So instead of just putting the motion out there, I pulled out the smelling salt, and we all kind of woke up, and we had a fruitful discussion about it, and I know it's been on some of my colleagues' minds as well. I would be inclined to put a moratorium on any further sign requests at this time until, unless they're for public safety or some emergency access reason, until we do see the policy that you would like to present to the board. We have to draw the line somewhere. We're not picking on anybody. It is a nuisance, it is a problem, and it's a public safety issue. When you have too many signs out there, they become a hindrance more than a traffic control device, specifically with, if there's a certain building somewhere, it's not particularly helpful to the flow of traffic. So I would be inclined to put a motion out there that we put a moratorium on any signs unless, as I said, they're public safety or public safety personnel requests them until we develop a policy. We've got to draw the line somewhere. We've approved these, I think, too easily in the past, and we need to get serious about cleaning up these signs. So I would make a motion that we have a moratorium.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second it.
It's been moved in second. Open for discussion. Any discussion? I would like to bring up a couple of points in regards to the motion. We do have a large number of signs. There's no question about it, and I think every member of this board feels the same as I do as far as sign pollution in the town of Oxford is concerned. I think before we put a moratorium on anything, maybe we should discuss what type of moratorium, because I don't believe you're responsible for all the signs in the town of Oxford. You're responsible for signs that the DPW puts up. But in addition to that, there are other signs that are in this town that are church signs, okay, that don't come under your jurisdiction. There are zoning type signs. It's actually zoning law regarding signage in the town of Oxford, okay? Businesses have abused that. So I really believe that zoning ought to be involved in this. If we're going to restructure how we deal with signs, it shouldn't just be municipal signage. It has to be signage that affects everybody in the community, because we have zoning controls over signage, and there is no enforcement, none whatsoever. There are certain size signs that can be put on businesses. That has been abused. I think we have to look at the zoning situation as well. So I think the motion is good, and I support the motion, but I think it should include the zoning board as well, because they're involved in signage as well.
No, and I have no problem with it. I was specifically dealing with the requests that come before this board that we have traditionally approved, that we not approve anymore until we get a policy that's brought before us, and most certainly bring the zoning enforcement officer on board who may have some policy suggestions as well. So my motion just deals with the requests that come before this board.
Those within the roadway,
Yes.
like traffic control
Roadway
signs.
signs.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that just includes roadway signs. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 That's everything, is that everything we wanted from him?
Right.
You have another question?
Yes, I did. Sean, just for clarification, we're talking basically informational signs, not stop signs or road signs such as that, when you give that number, correct? Am I correct?
No, that's all signs.
That's all signs?
Yes, all signs.
So,
Name signs as
Street
well.
name signs.
so when you
stuff.
take off street name signs or stop signs, which, are required at every intersection, that's gonna cut down that number of informational. I think of an informational sign as like, children crossing or churches in this area or something like that, so.
Right,
So
right.
you're counting every sign, and that's no matter whether you put it up or it's been a state sign that's put up, type of
That's
thing?
correct. If it's in the right-of-way, we count that sign. We inventory its position with the GPS unit, we log what type of sign it is, we log what kind of post it is. We've got very detailed information. That all goes into a database, so that if you ask me how many stop signs we have, I can call it up in the database and give you an exact count of stop signs, how many street name signs, and so on and so forth. So we'll have a very good dynamic database that we can work from.
That's great. And I have to agree with you, Chairman said, that enforcement it's a big thing in this town, anything with a lot of issues, but especially with the signs, because people put them up, they're located on town property in some cases, and there's no enforcement. Anybody can do just about anything they want when it comes to signs. That, to me, is the bigger issue here. If we're gonna do anything, we need to somehow come to a handle on the enforcement issue. So, thank you for allowing me to comment.
Maybe we should get some feedback from the zoning.
From the building inspector
Building
does
inspector.
zoning enforcement.
Maybe-
We have been working with her and the highway crew, because there are often, especially on Main Street, it's most aggravating, because we're trying to get things cleaned up for Memorial Day, and you'll see signs in the green strip between the sidewalk and the street.
Right.
That's on town property. I've said, just pick it up, take it. It's, they left it on our property, take it. Of course, then you really can't do that because people get upset. But we're trying to push that, and they'll just sneak them out. You once commented about
I brought that up.
the things that they stick in the side, on Route
Correct.
20.
Yep. They put them right there aside of the road, and it's,
Some guy advertising his business,
right,
it's
exactly.
unrelated to the site.
Right.
Well, it's a lot of work to do, yes. I'll get to the building inspector.
Okay. Anything else for Sean?
I don't think so. That's all you and I talked about, I
I
believe.
think so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
welcome. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is appointments. We do have an appointment we have to make to the WRTA.
I think I was appointed last time.
Well, I think you ought to be reappointed.
Second.
Entertain a motion. You have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Since there's no discussion, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Congratulations.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor.
You notice I can discuss, but I can't vote. Isn't that wonderful?
Okay.
I think Karen Crandall was the only
Okay.
applicant to the position.
Right. I'll entertain a motion to reappoint our Selectmen's clerk, Karen A. Crandall.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion?
Just want to say what a great job she does, and I don't know where this board would be sometimes without her and the people of this town that she serves so faithfully. She is an asset to this town and to this board, and it's a pleasure to work with her.
Second that.
I'll second that, too. I think we all will. We know how hard Karen works. Good job, Karen. Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. We received a couple of memos from the town manager regarding reappointment of ZBA members. And I think I've read a couple of different versions of what is suggested and should be done. And I bet I'm not the only one that is totally confused. It appears as though the zoning board of appeals and the manager want to stagger appointments so everybody doesn't come up at the same time. But how it has to be done has to be explained by the manager.
I will
Mr.
do
Manager.
that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We currently have 3 members. Let me first set the stage here. The zoning board is made up of 5 members and 3 associate members, in accordance with the appropriate chapter of the zoning bylaw, Chapter 14. The Board of Selectmen appoint, and I'll read from the zoning bylaw, they shall be appointed by the Board of Selectmen for terms of such length and so arranged that the term of one member, one of the 5, and one associate, one of the 3, shall expire each year. In 2012, we have 3 members and 1 associate with expiring terms. The zoning board had suggested a reappointment arrangement by name, which is the memo you have dated May 10th from Mary Heriage, their clerk. It doesn't quite work. So when I got that memo, I looked at the list, and rather than recommend who should be named to that position, I suggest that you appoint or reappoint one person as a member for a term that will expire next year, in 2013. Then he'll come next year, and they're all men right now, so I can use the masculine pronoun. He will be up for reappointment for a 5-year term, or someone can take his place for 5 years. The pool of available candidates is, of course, any of the associate members or the 3 whose term expire. They are Arthur Boulay, Peter LaFlash, and John Sneed. Pleasure of the board.
Are we voting on their terms?
Yes, my recommendation is that you appoint a member or reappoint one of these gentlemen to be a member until 2013. They've all been on now. Their terms all expire today.
Okay. So how are you suggesting we choose which individual gets appointed for what length of time?
I'm not. That's up to you.
But one for 13, one for 16, and one for 17?
Correct, of the members, that's right. And you have Stephen Balkunis, who's a associate member. His term runs out now. If you want to keep him as an associate member, I would recommend you reappoint him until 2015. That way, you'll have a member and an associate member with expiring terms each year. You only have to appoint 2 a year. Okay? And apparently what happened is that there were changes, people resigned. I know Norman LeBlanc, for example, resigned and became a member of the planning board. His term may have been, rather than the remainder of his term, he may have been appointed to 5 years. So then he ended up having an expiring term along with somebody else, which is not what the zoning board, the zoning bylaw envisions. So this is a chance to fix it so that we're in tune with the requirements of the zoning bylaw.
Board members have any comments or suggestions on how we should approach the appointments?
I'd make a motion to appoint Arthur Boulay for a term to be filled until, just actually clarification to the manager. So if we're appointing it as of 2013, is that what you're suggesting? So the term would run from 2013 to 2016?
No, that it would run from today until 2013, at which point he'd be up for reappointment.
Okay. I'd make a motion that we appoint John Sneed to a term up to 2013, Peter LaFlash to 2016, and Arthur Boulay to 2017.
Second.
We have a motion that's been moved and second. Any discussion? There being none, okay. Discussion?
So you're only making the motion for the regular members, nothing for the associate members?
At this point,
At this point,
Okay. Thank you.
okay. I'll call for the vote,
Yes.
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 and I'll make it unanimous.
So then now you have Mr. Balkunis's term expires today. Do you want to reappoint him to a 3-year term? Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, fix that. Now we're on to the more mundane part of your appointments, like Board of Registrars and Civil Defense.
Okay, we have the Board of Registrars. Teresa M. Laramie of 16 Leicester Street. I would entertain a motion to reappoint her to the Board of Registrars until the year 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries. Carol J. Graves, 60 Old Howarth Road, appointed until 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries. John Flaherty, 16 June Street. ATE would be 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. There being no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 And I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries. Civil Defense Police. Albert M. Adams, 110 Main Street. Richard M. Nealon, 491 Main Street. John R. O'Keefe, 2 Wade Street, all until 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Discussion. Being none, call for the vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries. This is Civil Defense Police Officers, restricted to recreation duties. If the board has no objections, I'll read all 3 names. There being none, I'll read the 3 names. Gary L. Belvry, 1 Virginia Lane. Leon J. Cahill, 16 Charlton Street. Ronald Fisher, 3 Bird Court. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Being no discussion, I'll call for the vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries. I think that's it on appointments.
No.
Okay,
Yeah, more
Constable.
Constables. Is that a part of the attachment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Constables. Albert M. Adams. Robert F. Charbonneau. Richard M. Nealon. Ralph W. Miller. Michael C. G. Plant. Franklin G. Sad. Brian Boulay. Alan Jeske. And Stephen Lapamato. Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion, we appoint them?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries.
So we skip the next page?
Downtown view, yeah.
Oh, no, we go to downtown beautification is next?
Did we get all the,
Oh, we didn't get the bonds from two of these, so they're,
no, I mean, all these names.
Oh, yeah, those are included. That's the normal list, and there were people that didn't return their applications, so
Okay.
that's why.
so you went with the cover memo list.
Okay, so we just did the ones that have all the information in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
More to be appointed in the future, pending information to the board. Downtown Beautification Committee. And these are all reappointments. Alfred W. Banville, Carolyn Banville, Kathleen Bowles, Kimberly Den, Joel Maisley, Olive Prunya, John Reckner, George Starkus, Dorothy Starkus. Pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion, we approve their appointments.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries. Open Space Committee.
Just one person.
One person there.
Is that Jane? Okay. Jane Stafford is the only one? The others are here, what, for information?
Oh, no, they're until 14, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's just Jane Stafford at Forest Street. Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion, we appoint her to the Open Space Committee till 2015.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries. Police Matrons. These are also all reappointments. Joanna M. Cox, Karen Mahota, Rebecca Prefontaine, Joanne Summers, Deborah Light, and Amanda Stone. Pleasure of the board.
I make a motion, we appoint them as police patrons.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries. I think that completes our appointments. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Hannah Howard Scholarship Fund. Does everyone have a copy of their applications? Okay. We've had these for quite some time. We have a total of, let's see, how many people?
5.
5 people. I would suggest, we've all had this, we all did our reviews. Board have any, I will take any recommendations. Mr. Lamountain?
Mr. Chair, I would recommend we give them out. My first choice was number 2. My second choice was number 5. My third choice was number 1. I don't know how that lines up with everybody else.
Did you say it again? 2-5?
2, 5, 1, and then 3, 4, if you want to know the exact order.
You want to give the grant to all 5?
No, no,
No,
no. Number
those-
2 would be my
how
first
he
choice.
rated them.
The first, second, third, fourth,
I
and fifth
see.
choices.
Yeah.
2, 5, 1, 3, 4.
Okay, well, maybe I should throw out the number and see how many votes they get. Number 1. How many votes for number 1? Okay. Number 2.
Yes.
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 Okay. That's 3 votes. Right? Number 3. Okay, we have no votes for number 3. Number 4.
Yes.
We have 1 yes. Do we have any more? Okay. 1 vote for number 4. Number 5.
Yes. Because we're splitting these up, so we're going to vote two people, right? Is that what we're doing?
No,
Haven't we
one,
done that?
One.
So we're not voting for two, then number 4 was my first choice. Okay.
And your first choice?
It was number 4.
All right, so we have 3.
3 for 2, 1 for 4, missing a voter.
Me, I haven't voted.
You haven't voted, okay.
Since there's not a tie, I won't vote.
Very good. So it's 2.
Okay, number 2.
Do I need to make that a
You
motion?
have to make the motion.
Chair, make a motion, we grant it to number 2.
A second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just note that they were all very qualified, nice letters written by all of the applicants. All of them had great grades, very, very active in the school and sports and National Honor Society. So, I mean, it's a difficult choice when we vote on this every year. I want to wish them all luck, and we can only pick one, so.
Exactly. That echoes, I'm sure, every member's sentiments. It's very difficult, and we don't get to see the names, so there's no favoritism, it's just basic information. The school department submits an application with all the background, and there's no name, there's no clue who these people are. So it's strictly on the merits. Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 And I'll make it unanimous, motion carries.
Think I'm next?
Okay, Selectmen's request, Manager's report. We'll start with the Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. Town Manager's report for May 16th. We have resignations. We've received a resignation of Ms. Jane Banya as chairwoman of the Oxford Republican Town Committee, and Mr. Martin Banya as the treasurer of the Oxford Republican Town Committee. Any correspondence should now be directed to Mr. Alan Hammond, who's the secretary. Very good. We've done the intermunicipal agreement, which was my second item. Meeting schedule. I request the board vote to set the summer/fall meeting schedule. It was provided to you by your administrative assistant via email. That's my item 3. And that is, her recommendation is we meet on June 5th and June 19th, July 10th, July 24th, August 7, August 21, September 11, September 25, October 16, October 30, November 13th, November 27, and I'm sure that doesn't interfere with Thanksgiving. No, it doesn't, because Thanksgiving is the week before. And finally, December 4th and 18th. Pleasure of the board?
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the board. We all got copies of this. And, just so everyone knows that we are going to be scheduled every Tuesday, okay? With the exception if a holiday falls on a Tuesday. Then we won't meet, obviously. But we are going to post every selectmen's meeting for every Tuesday. But we are going to work on an every other week kind of schedule if we can, based on the amount of items we have for the agenda. Obviously, we're not going to waste anybody's time if we have 1 or 2 items on that week's agenda that is not critical and can be put off for an agenda in the future. So with that being said, I don't know if the board is comfortable with the suggested dates. If not, we can hold this until the next meeting. It's open for discussion.
I don't see any conflict.
Anybody have a problem with it?
I don't get it, it's your agenda, it's your meeting.
Yeah, but, I know there may be some conflicts with board members on vacations, et cetera, and I want to make sure that any concerns that any of the board members have are taken into consideration. If not, then I will entertain a motion that we go along with the proposed agenda for the summer schedule.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. No discussion. I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes. It's a 6-month schedule, basically. Well, longer than 6 months.
We have the board's in receipt of a special permit for animals. It's a provision of the zoning bylaw. The application is complete and ready to be circulated to departments for comments. Pleasure of the board to hold the hearing for this matter on Tuesday, June 19th at 7 PM. Because it's zoning, we need a supermajority to take action, so if there's 2 or more absent, then we'll have to reschedule it. Pleasure of the board for June 19th.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 I'll make it unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you. I'm glad Mr. Dival's still here. National Public Works Week. In honoring the many men and women in today's workforce, it is only fitting that we recognize other very deserving group, the public works sector. The men and women in the field of public works take great pride in what they do for their community and the citizens of that community alike. It is in recognizing all of the hard work of these men and women, it is only fitting that we proclaim the week of May 20 through 26, 2012, as National Public Works Week in Oxford. A proclamation has been proposed in their honor. Pleasure of the board to sign the proclamation in recognition of all public works personnel.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Yes.
If I may, I think this is wonderful. I've said it many a time, and I think they know. I've told the employees themselves, the people that we have working in the town of Oxford for our DPW is phenomenal. They do a great job. They're phenomenal with the residents. They really try to meet their needs. In the wintertime, being as well prepared for the cleaning of the streets and trying to handle the residents' every needs on the various streets. I think they do a wonderful job. This is great, and I just wanted to publicly comment. Thank you.
Well, in regards to that, in anticipation of the board voting in the affirmative, we have a proclamation that we'd like to read and present to Mr. Duval, and I will read it into the record. Whereas the services provided by the Department of Public Works in the town of Oxford are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of an informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewer, streets, highways, and public buildings, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities and services is vitally dependent upon efforts and skill of our public works officials, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the residents' attitude and understanding of the importance of the work performed. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Oxford, do hereby proclaim the week of May 20th to the 26th, 2012, as National Public Work Week in our community. And we call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and to recognize the contributions that public works personnel make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life, given under our hands this 10th day of May 2012. Oxford Board of Selectmen. Mr. Duval, come forward, please. Thank you very much for your service.
Thanks, Sean.
And I'd just like to mention that, speaking of Highway Department, I spoke to the operations manager this week, and he was all excited because he got a call to go to Worcester, to the Worcester Police Department. If you recall, at one of our selectmen's meetings a while back, the Highway Department complained about grates being stolen from the streets, the big, heavy steel manhole grates, and people were stealing them and turning them in to get money because of the cost of the material. Well, the Highway Department reported it to the police department, and it got on the air, and it was part of Worcester's records. And Worcester Police Department called the Oxford Police Department and said that they have found the grates. They tried turning them into one of the scrap metal
Wow.
places, and they were on the lookout for them. So heads up and kudos to the Highway Department and the Oxford Police Department for putting the alert out there, because we got them back. And, you know, that's a big safety thing, because we know how much those things cost. And not only that, if a car or a truck runs over one of those grates that are missing, you've got a serious problem. So, thank you very much for your efforts.
How many did you get back, Sean?
10.
10?
Yep.
So that's all of them?
Yep, got them all back. That's fantastic.
Wow.
We saved a few bucks in the budget. Don't have to replace it.
We don't have to replace them now.
Because amazing they could even get them up.
Yeah, it takes more than one person to get them up.
And you make a good point, it is extremely, not only is it expensive, they're sometimes hard to come by, and, as you point out, if somebody drove over an open catch basin, that's ruined tire.
Walked all
Right, what do you want? Okay. Now, finishing up, we have an invitation. The senior class of Oxford High School has requested the honor of your presence at their 2012 commencement exercises to be held on Friday, the 25th of May at 6 p.m. That's next Friday. Please notify Ms. Crandall by May 21st if you plan to attend the graduation ceremonies. And finally, a few reminders. The second half of the 2012 real estate and personal property tax bills were mailed on April 18th. They're due this Friday, May 18th. Payment may be dropped off at the front entrance to the town hall in the drop box, or you may pay them online at www.town.oxford.ma.us. If you mail your payment, please make the check payable to the town of Oxford and mail it to the town of Oxford. Tax collector, 325 Main Street, Oxford, 01540. You can pay in person. The town hall is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Anyone wishing to file for an abatement must do so by the close of business on Friday at 4:30 p.m. And for information on abatement, you can call the assessor's office at 987-6036. The board has received an invitation to attend the Eagle Scout Court of Honor for Nicholas Tavares of Boy Scout Troop 161 on Saturday, May 26th. That'll be at 1 p.m. This special honor will be held at the United Methodist Church, located at 465 Main Street, and there'll be a reception following the ceremony. Please notify Ms. Crandall by tomorrow if you would be interested in presenting the citation or the event. And finally, the annual Memorial Day Parade, which this year is sponsored by the American Legion Post 58, will be held on Monday, May 28th, starting at 10:30 a.m. 10:30 a.m., marchers are asked to meet at the VFW, which is the Northernmore facility. That's the Veterans of Foreign Wars facility on Federal Hill Road. If you are interested in marching or speaking at one of the memorials, please notify Ms. Crandall by tomorrow. That ends my report for May 16th. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Selectmen's request, Mr. Lamarche.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the voters that did come out to vote yesterday. It's very appreciative, although it was a small turnout. I appreciate the fact that I was restated. The other issue in that regards, I just hope that I can serve the community on a better capacity and improve over the next 3 years. I'd like to also thank my fellow board members for electing me as vice chair. I find this very honorable and humbling, and I just appreciate what you've done. The second thing is that I had the pleasure of going to the Worcester State University commencement exercise last weekend, and kind of in the same gist as our Hannah Howard applicants, who are it's amazing the qualifications of these kids and the kids you see at the high school. This particular man, Thomas Brennan is his name, is a resident of this town. He sang the national anthem, and he also was given the opportunity during the ceremony that he sang an actual piece that I don't recall the actual name of the piece, but he did it a cappella, and there's no musical accompaniment, and it was just phenomenal. It was phenomenal to see a Oxford resident that could sing so well and do just a phenomenal presentation. And I was so moved, I thought I should mention his name publicly because he did a great job. He's a graduate this year, and I wanted to commend him for that. So thank you, and that's all I have.
Well, you haven't heard Joe sing yet.
Yes, I have.
I think he's great.
No comment.
Mr. Bose?
Yes, a couple of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to go to the volunteer brunch at the senior center, and I just, like to say what a great, devoted bunch of individuals you have over there. Stacy Barr is doing a fantastic job, and all the volunteers. I think she calculated it out, and the volunteers there have saved the town about $150,000 a year with all their volunteer hours. I mean, Meals on Wheels, you name it. They have breakfasts. Lunches over there every day. Many services they provide for the folks of Oxford, and I just wanted to say how appreciative I am of what they do over there. That's all I got.
Mr. Mountain?
All I want to do is say, Dennis, I'm glad you're back.
Thank you.
That was kind of nice. And to the people across, well, we used to say across the parking lot, now in the school department, Sarah, Dan, Alice, they're all new to those positions. Two of them former selectmen. I wish them well in their new endeavor, and let's keep it going. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, you guys have said all the nice stuff, so I'll get down to the business. I see that Mr. Dival is still here, so I just want to follow up on a question that I had. I know the town manager spoke to you about it. If you could just address it. I was approached, I don't know, probably 2 months ago, out collecting signatures by a fellow who's heavily involved in the soccer in town. I'm not going to use his name, in the youth soccer. And he pointed out to me that, the fields up at Rule Field have basically what were soccer fields, or what were athletic fields, were basically piles of sand. And I hadn't been up there in a while, so I took the time to drive up there after I spoke to him, and he was right. And they were just mounds of sand that have been sitting there, I guess, at the time for months. And I don't know how long it takes to create a soccer field, but it does seem that it has been unreasonably delayed. And can you address that? And what is going on with the contractor? And what, if any, recourse do we have as a community? Because it does seem a bit absurd.
The work at Rule Field is actually complete.
It is now.
Yes, it is now substantially complete, and it's been that way for, I want to say, at least 2 weeks. We got lucky in the earlier part of the spring when it should have been raining. It was dry, which allowed the contractor to actually take those big mounds and grade them all out to the specifications. Just as he was done grading those mounds out and creating the nice even playing surface, he hydroseeded it, and then it started to rain. So now, we got lucky in the dry season to get the grading done, and now that the seed has gone down, now it's been rainy, which is completely reverse of what you expect in a typical New England spring. So the grass is growing like gangbusters now, and it's probably maybe 2 inches high already, and it's starting to fill in, and it's looking pretty good.
Okay, because the mounds of soil or dirt or sand or a combination of all the three had been there for months, and he was very, very frustrated, and I guess it was a one-man show up there. Was the contractor working alone?
Off and on, it was himself, the owner, the owner's son, and a truck driver.
Okay, because the day that I went up there, it was, because we had a very nice March. I mean, people confuse March with July. I mean, we had 70 and 80-degree days. It was a Saturday afternoon. It was beautiful. You would have thought perfect working conditions, and there wasn't a soul up there. And so, it was a legitimate complaint. So obviously, I don't know if you spoke to them or the town manager did, or they just got to work on the project, but it did sit there for a long time.
Well, with the open winter that we had good weather in February, where the contractor could have been out there working. The problem is, hindsight's always 20/20. It was February, and you never knew if the weather was going to change, it was going to snow the next week. So the contractor was shut down for the winter, even though he could have been working. So that got people thinking that it should have been done then. And then we got into a March where it was warm. But he started going again in March, and by midway through April, I'd say, it was all graded out and ready for seed. We waited another couple of weeks because we were afraid of frost killing new seedlings. So it got seeded towards the end of April, and we got really lucky, and the grass is growing nicely now.
So when he decided to really focus on it, it took him about a month to get it done?
Right.
Okay, so that's kind of the point that this man was frustrated about. So I'm glad to hear that it's done, and, I hope that I'll follow up with this gentleman. I'm sure that because we have hundreds of kids in youth soccer,
Right.
and, that was a sticking point. So I appreciate that follow-up. It's the only follow-up I've had on that issue, so I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'd like to point out, we learned from our Joslin Field experience, where you remember we had the weeds, because we couldn't water it. We're preparing, I think you put the water line in, it's a matter of getting that, what do you call it, water cannon or
Right.
something? So we will be making sure, although this has been great for the lawn, although you have to mow it twice a week now. We'll enjoy this, but we'll keep it growing through the season so that we can have this ready for next spring, I think is our plan,
That's correct.
to have this ready for use next spring.
Okay.
So it's good. Things are good.
Great, thank you. And then the other item I had, Mr. Manager, we did address it when Mr. Dival was here. I was going to wait and bring it up then. The intermunicipal agreement, completely unrelated to the sewer issue. So I'm not talking about the intermunicipal agreement with respect to Webster. What I'm talking about, and I'd like a status on this, is are the intermunicipal agreements that we have as a community with neighboring towns for public safety purposes. I know that I believe we have one for Auburn. We may have one for Charlton. And I recall, I'm doing this from memory, that we had executed or voted to enter into some municipal agreements with neighboring communities, specifically
I'll check on
police. And the reason why I asked that is because recently, in a case that I've had, it came to light that a community that is part of an intermunicipal agreement, a police department, an officer followed a person who we believe to be under the influence into another community, believing that he had the authority to make a stop, and he thought the person was intoxicated, based upon an intermunicipal agreement between two towns. Well, as it turned out, the intermunicipal agreement was never fully or duly executed by the two towns involved. So in other words, here he is outside of his jurisdiction, he makes a stop for public safety purposes, they fax over to the DA's office an agreement that is not signed by the Board of Selectmen, does not have certified copies of our vote with the municipal agreement, and this may be something you want to check with the chief of police on, because it can be embarrassing for a municipality when they're scrambling. I was on the prevailing side, because they didn't have their ducks in order, and I was versed on this stuff because we've taken these issues up, but it made me think about, are our ducks in order? Do we have those intermunicipal agreements in a central location with certified votes of this board, and not only of this board, but the towns that we are in the agreement with? So if a police officer in Oxford was following a vehicle and he did not observe a felony being committed and was not in hot pursuit, the only two reasons why he could go into another town and make a stop, he could say, well, there's an intermunicipal agreement, then he only needs probable cause to follow the car and pull it over in a different town, but that agreement has to be signed by everybody, have the votes right there with it, and I just want to make sure that we are a town that has that all in a central location, so if it does become an issue with our police officers and they make a stop in a neighboring community, we've got everything that we need. So if you
Very
could just
good.
follow up on that.
I will,
Okay,
absolutely.
that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, a segue from that, Mr. Dival has made me aware of a recent law regarding mutual aid. We can enter into, as you've just described, an intermunicipal agreement or mutual aid agreements on fire and police. And included in fire is ambulance. You're all aware of that. They recently added to that Public Works. So and this is very interesting. You talk about our wonderful DPW guys. They were ready to pack up and go help out in Brimfield after the tornado went through. We couldn't do it because we didn't have the legal authority. They were a bit frustrated, but we explained it to them. We can't do that. If something happens, insurance won't cover you. There's going to be all kinds of problems
Right.
from doing that. What I'll do is bring forward that, because it's something that I think, as far as Public Works, is important. If we have, and it's not, I've seen it happen where we have, with the ice storm. The ice storm impacted the north end of town. People down here had no clue what was happening. So we could have used help from maybe people in Leicester or Auburn, in that case, whereas where we might not need it somewhere else. So I'd like to just make you aware of that, so we can bring it forward at a later date.
And just so people know that there would be coverage, just as if they were employees of Auburn, working in Auburn, if anybody's injured, that's all part of the mutual aid agreement, it's in the
Correct.
language, so, on the liability issue. Thank you.
Good, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I don't have anything this evening, but we are going to be going into executive
No, we're
session.
not.
We're not?
We don't need it.
Okay. We don't need it. So if there's no further business to come before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We are adjourned.